Greetings, everyone. We will keep on explaining about the waiver. Despite numerous videos that we have recorded defining a waiver and on who qualifies for a waiver, there is still confusion. Some out there think that a waiver is a permit on its own. In this video, we will again try our level best as far as we can to explain in simple terms so that those who did not understand in the previous videos at least will understand. I am Ngabuto Nicholas Mapena. Please subscribe, like this video, and circulate. We've said a waiver is not uniform. People apply for a waiver for different reasons. Because you're applying for a waiver, asking government to remove some restrictions that might prevent you from qualifying for a general work visa. So it does not mean that every person does qualify for a general work visa. We have also recorded a video where we explained the process of applying for a general work visa. A person will ask, these are the questions that we are getting. A person phones and says, Comrade Mapena, I work as a receptionist for a company. Do I qualify for a waiver? I then ask a simple question. I say, in your own understanding, do you think there's no South African who can do the job that you are doing in the front office or as a receptionist? The person says, no, they can do the job. And I say to the person, it means you can therefore not apply for a waiver on the basis that you are a receptionist, you want a government to remove a restriction so that it allows you as a receptionist to have a general work visa. So if you are working in a company as a receptionist, you will not qualify for a waiver because the work that you do in terms of the Immigration Act can be done by a South African. Secondly, at this stage, if you're a domestic worker, your employer, yes, might like you because you have spent 10 years or more working for the same employer. There's a question of trust. But under the Immigration Act, you cannot qualify for a waiver to say there is no South African who can do a job of a domestic worker. A number of domestic workers are asking us, Comrade Mapena, I want to apply for a waiver. My boss is willing to write a letter for me. And we are simply saying, because it is not us, it is what the Immigration Act says, that a general work visa can be granted to a migrant when the company has satisfied itself and the government that there is no person in South Africa who can do the job that a migrant is doing, even though the qualification is not under critical skills. So your employer cannot therefore write and say the person is a domestic worker, is trustworthy, I can leave them home, I go for holidays, they don't steal from me, I want them to continue working for me, please grant them a waiver so that they apply for a general work visa. It does not work in that way. If you work as a driver, a delivery driver, whatever company, whether Coca-Cola company, a South African can also drive and deliver the goods that you are delivering in the company that you work for. A South African can also drive an Uber vehicle. This is what the argument is all about. So you cannot say, I'm an Uber driver. I should therefore apply for a waiver and be granted a general work visa on the basis that I'm an Uber driver. It is not possible under the current Immigration Act. So you cannot therefore apply for a waiver on the basis that you're an Uber driver, on the basis that you work in a restaurant, unless if you're a chef, you can maybe apply. But if you are a general worker or a waiter in the restaurant, which of course we did a video on those that work in the hospitality industry, you cannot qualify because this is what the Immigration Act says. So I then said in the previous video, what we said in the other video that you recorded, we gave an example for an educator that you are working in Limpopo in the farming community. You are teaching mathematics. South African mathematics educators say they are not keen to go and work in a rural setup or in a farming community setup where internet is always a problem. There's a shortage of there's always challenges of network connection. And a mathematics teacher who graduated last year would not want to be deployed there. It is at that point that your school can then write to government or write you a letter to say they want to retain your skills because they do not have enough mathematics teachers in their school or in their district. In fact, the education department, the district education department can do so as well to say in this district, we have shortages of mathematics teachers, shortage of science teachers. We have migrants who are holders of ZEP. It is at that point that a waiver can be granted that a mathematics teacher or a science teacher working in some remote areas can apply for a general work visa. This happened in 2014 when the quota permit was closed down. Most educators of migrant origin, mainly from Zimbabwe, who are working in Limpopo and in Mpumalanga, were able to apply for a general work visa when the quota permit was closed down because they were holders of quota permits, and the Department of Education wanted to retain their services or their skills. And the Department of Home Affairs and Department of Labor had to grant them a waiver, and hence the granting of a general work visa. But it's always difficult. Say you teach English, you're an English teacher at Orlando High School, and there are South Africans that also are qualified to teach English at Orlando High School. So preference would be given to a South African, unless, of course, the school will say, we have shortage of English teachers. Then you can apply for a waiver. Or if there's a school that is doing Cambridge syllabus, and because you are Cambridge trained as a Zimbabwean teacher, it is then that a waiver might be granted on those bases because the school that you work in offers Cambridge syllabus. So if you are working in a construction industry, if you are working, say, at Edgar's or ShopRite Checkers, you are a cashier there, You cannot apply for a waiver to say, I work for ShopRite in Hillbrow. I want to apply for a general work visa. It is not possible. I know Superbet comrades have been calling us to say, Comrade Mabena, please assist. Do you want to apply for a waiver? If you are working for Superbet, as an example, on what basis will you apply for a waiver to say you should be granted a waiver so that you get to apply for a general working visa? The question that will be asked would be, are South Africans not capable enough to work at Superbet? Are South Africans not capable enough to work at ShopRite? And so forth and so forth. So these are the challenges that you are confronted with. So not everybody can apply for a waiver. We have said in the previous videos as well that if you are married to a South African or married to a person who's on PR or on another visa, and the sponsored permit says or visa says you cannot take up employment, but you're already working, it is then that you apply for a waiver to say, I'm already working, I'm married to a South African or to a person who's on PR, then you can apply and be granted it. The Department of Home Affairs will then decide whether to grant you your request so that you continue working in the Republic of South Africa. Outside that, it is difficult because the calls that we are getting, the messages that we are getting in our various social media platforms, in our private inboxes, everyone says, are we able now to apply for a waiver? I need to apply for a waiver. You ask the person, what are your qualifications? No, I work in a shop, or I work as a domestic worker, or I work for an NGO. It is not possible. We then recorded a video on the application for critical skills visa and explained the circumstances under which you can then apply for a waiver, particularly if you are not registered with a professional board. So as we draw to conclusion, a waiver application is not uniform because the restrictions that you want to be removed might not be what I want, because I'll be in a different profession, different from yours. So it does not mean that a mathematics teacher in Limpopo will apply for the same waiver like, say, an electrician. Say if electrician as an artisan who's an electrician is not listed under critical skills visa. I did not check that, but let's assume it's not listed there. But you're already working for ESCOM as an electrician, but it is not listed under critical skills visa. I'm not saying it is not listed. You then apply for a waiver because naturally there will be shortage of electricians in the country, or motor mechanics. So these are different when you then apply for a waiver. Now, the issue which is separate from the waivers, which President Ramaphosa, in his capacity as president of the ANC, says South Africa, the ANC must take lead in the discussion or debate on migration. And also what the Minister of Labor and Employment said, that they are reviewing the Employment Act. And also the Department of Home Affairs, the minister said that they are reviewing or amending the Immigration Act. The whole question is, what is the attitude of the South African government to people of low skill who work in South Africa from the SADC region? Will the new Immigration Act take into account that the reality is that you have people of low skill from the SADC region that are in South Africa, and how do you deal with such individuals? So it's a debate which is separate from the waiver applications that must happen as part of what the Immigration Act discussion, or the amendment of the Immigration Act as it happens. Is a debate that is happening because we know that around Limpopo farms then, in the farming community in Limpopo, we had the people from Bedbridge who were normally given special permits, not these Zimbabwe special permits, but special permits to work on the farms because the farming is seasonal. So they will be given farms, I mean, they will be given some special permits to come and pick up oranges if it's a season for oranges. If it takes a month or 2 months after the picking up of oranges, they go back to Bedbridge on the Zimbabwean side. If it's picking up grapes, they will come in up to Western Cape to pick up grapes, and if that is over, they go back. So there's always been that arrangement. And in this discussion, will this also be included in this Immigration Act as the government is reviewing that? Because it is a reality that you have people of low skill that are working in South Africa. The current Immigration Act does not give provision for people of low skill. This is why then there's confusion, where the majority of Zimbabwe exemption permits holders are of low skill. And this is why everyone now wants to apply for a waiver, because the majority of ZEP holders will not qualify to move to other mainstream visas as outlined in the Immigration Act. So we hope, therefore, that as the discussion around immigration, the discussion around the reviewing of the Immigration Act might actually give, might consider to say, this is the reality that we've got people of low skill, but how then does South Africa then play a balancing act uh, to balance the reality of migrants of low skill from the SADC region that are in South Africa and the rising unemployment in South Africa? How do you then balance so that you take into account what South Africans are raising, and also deal with the reality that you have people of low skill that are in South Africa? How do you play that balancing act? So this will be interesting to see going forward. I see Comrade Patel Krupesh says, "Hi, sir, I'm working for a cell phone shop from India. Can I get a work visa? Visa have Aslam now." Comrade Patel, if you are working for that shop, uh, you will not qualify. And I see you have an Aslam document. So you are not on ZEP, you are on Aslam document. And the directive by the cabinet on the 24th of November does not speak to people who are holders of asylum documents. Comrade Norbert Mujati says, "Good morning, Comrade Mabena. So basically, if I'm an Uber driver, I should just forget and go home, unless if there are changes." I would certainly agree with you, Comrade Norbert, because I do not see how, as an Uber driver, you can apply for a general work visa in South Africa and justify that you need to remain in South Africa. Of course, as you are saying, that unless there are changes, unless government then reviews, because they know that about 178,000 are holders of ZEP. They will know how many will have applied, and how many they will have qualified, and they will have then to begin to deal with the question to say, how do they then deal with the high numbers in the ZEP category who did not qualify. Then Comrade Peter Hadebe he is insulting me, who are used to insult and will not be dragged. I'm a communist, by the way. As a communist, I get engaged in the battle of ideas. I don't get engaged in the battle of insults. But if Comrade Peter Hadebe thinks insulting is the way to go, well, that's his views. As communists, we engaged in the battle of ideas. We do not get engaged in the battles of insults or assaults or whatever. No, we don't do that. We are smarter than that as communists. Thanks, Comrade Loveness Nkomo. Thanks, Comrade Erasmus Muzorori. Uh, Thanks, Comrade Rabson Nkomo. The comment section says, do we need to get a Zimbabwean police clearance even if we haven't been in Zimbabwe since turning 18? The requirement is that if you lived in Zimbabwe, you must have a police clearance if you turned 18 when you were in Zimbabwe. But if you came here when you were younger than 18 and you have been resident in South Africa, I don't think it's a requirement that we should have a police clearance from Zimbabwe, but it is only for those that are over 18. But please just verify as well. But I think that's what it says. Thanks, Comrade Grace Ndundu. Thanks, Comrade Peter Krupe says, I can convert waiver letter from us. I'm working cell phone shop. That's not possible, Comrade Patel. That's not possible. A waiver was only granted to holders of ZEP so that they do not apply for go back to Zimbabwe to apply for mainstream visas. So they were given a waiver to apply in South Africa. So otherwise, thank you, comrades, so much for your time. Please like the video, continue writing your comments. We will continue to engage outside this platform, and indeed, please subscribe. Comrade Peter, communism is international. So we will, Comrade Peter Hadebe, engage on what you are raising. Otherwise, goodbye, comrades.